The tragic death of Princess Diana on August 31st, 1997, in a car crash in Paris, shocked the world. While the official investigation concluded it was an accident caused by a combination of driver error and the relentless pursuit of paparazzi, numerous conspiracy theories have persisted, suggesting that her death was not an accident. Here are some of the reasons why many believe otherwise. Controversy over the official investigation, driver's condition. The official inquiry blamed Henri Paul, the driver of the car, citing high alcohol levels and prescription drugs in his system. However, skeptics argue that the blood samples used in the analysis may have been tampered with or misidentified. Speed and pursuit. Critics question the reliability of claims that the paparazzi were entirely to blame for the crash. While they were present, some believe other vehicles might have been deliberately involved in causing the crash. Claims of a royal conspiracy, Diana's fear of being killed. A chilling note written by Diana and given to her butler, Paul Burrell, months before her death, stated that she feared a plot to harm her in a staged car accident. This note fueled speculation that she may have been silenced for being a threat to the monarchy. Relationship with Dodi Fayed. Diana was romantically involved with Dodi Fayed, the son of Egyptian billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed. Some believe their relationship, and rumors of an impending engagement or pregnancy may have alarmed the British establishment. Mohammed Al Fayed's allegations. Dodi's father has long claimed that Diana and his son were murdered as part of a plot by the British royal family and intelligence agencies to prevent their union. Unresolved questions and mysterious details. Missing CCTV footage. Despite the Pont de l'Alma tunnel being a busy area, no CCTV footage of the crash was ever released, leading to suspicions of a cover-up. Unanswered questions about medical treatment. Some argue that French authorities delayed Diana's medical treatment by not taking her to the nearest hospital promptly. They speculate that this delay may not have been accidental. Allegations of a white Fiat Uno. Witnesses reported seeing a white Fiat Uno in the tunnel that allegedly collided with Diana's Mercedes. This car was never identified, sparking rumors of its possible role in the crash. Media and paparazzi involvement. While paparazzi played a role in chasing Diana's car, some theorists suggest that their involvement was not purely coincidental. There are claims that the chaos may have been orchestrated to distract or intimidate the driver. Public distrust in official narratives. Many people are skeptical of official explanations involving high-profile figures, particularly in cases involving the monarchy or government agencies. This distrust has fueled speculation that the truth about Diana's death has been suppressed. Conclusion. While the official inquiry, Operation Paget in the UK, found no evidence of foul play and concluded that Diana's death was a tragic accident, the unresolved questions, suspicious circumstances, and historical distrust in authority have kept conspiracy theories alive. For many, Diana's untimely death remains shrouded in mystery, and her legacy continues to inspire questions about power, secrecy, and influence. Inconsistencies in blood analysis, alleged blood alcohol levels. The French investigation reported that Henri Paul's blood alcohol level was 1.75 grams per litre, more than 3 times the legal limit in France. However, those who knew Paul, including his colleagues and family, described him as a responsible professional man who showed no signs of intoxication that night, or that he ever had a habit of drinking to excess. Carbon monoxide levels. The autopsy also reported that Paul's blood contained abnormally high levels of carbon monoxide, so high that he would likely have been incapacitated. Critics argue that such levels were inconsistent with his ability to walk, talk, and drive just moments before the crash, or tie his shoelaces as seen in the hotel CCTV before they departed, when he showed no signs consistent with his blood analysis. Tampering or misidentification of samples. Possibility of tampering. Conspiracy theorists suggest that Henri Paul's blood samples might have been tampered with to frame him as the primary cause of the crash. This would divert attention from other potential causes or orchestrators of the incident. Sample mix-up. Some argue that the blood samples used in the analysis might have been mistakenly taken from another individual, such as a suicide victim with carbon monoxide poisoning. This theory is bolstered by the unusual nature of the carbon monoxide levels. Someone did commit suicide by diverting exhaust gas into his car after drinking a lot of whiskey that same night. Why would such a lie be stated? Deflecting blame. By painting Henri Paul as a reckless, intoxicated driver, investigators could absolve others of responsibility, including the paparazzi, security personnel, or even potential external actors. Convenient narrative. Framing Paul as the sole culprit provided a clean and straightforward explanation for Diana's death, reducing public scrutiny of more complex or sinister possibilities. Cover-up allegations. Some believe that intelligence agencies or other powerful entities may have orchestrated the crash and needed a scapegoat to cover up their involvement. Eyewitness testimonies. Several witnesses at the Ritz Hotel where Henri Paul worked claimed that he appeared completely sober and composed before driving Diana and Dodi Fayed. There was no visible indication that he was heavily intoxicated or impaired. CCTV footage from the Ritz also showed Paul walking and interacting normally, which seemed inconsistent with someone in the state described by the toxicology report. Lack of transparency. Conflicting reports. Over the years, conflicting details about the crash and the investigation have emerged, contributing to public distrust. For instance, the lack of definitive explanations for the carbon monoxide levels has fueled suspicions, questions about motive. Many theorists ask why Henri Paul, an experienced and trusted head of security at the Ritz, would endanger his high-profile passengers by driving recklessly or while impaired. This contradiction further undermines the official narrative. Alternative theories. External interference. Some theories propose that the crash was deliberately caused, perhaps by other vehicles or through intentional disruption of the car's journey. Pinning the blame on Paul could have been a way to hide the true cause. The role of the white Fiat Uno. Witnesses reported seeing a white Fiat Uno in the tunnel at the time of the crash. Its involvement remains unexplained, and its absence from the investigation raises further doubts about the official version of events. Conclusion. The claim that Henri Paul was heavily intoxicated and had high carbon monoxide levels remains one of the most controversial aspects of the investigation into Princess Diana's death. Many believe these statements were part of a cover-up to deflect attention from other potential causes or actors. The lack of clear answers, coupled with the inconsistencies in evidence, continues to fuel speculation that the full truth about the tragic events of August 31st, 1997 has not been revealed. Why was Henri Paul the driver? Change of plans. Henri Paul was the deputy head of security at the Ritz Hotel and was not a designated chauffeur. The decision for him to drive Diana and Dodi was reportedly made at the last minute, allegedly to outmaneuver the paparazzi. This decision raised suspicions, as Paul was not as experienced as professional chauffeurs in handling high-pressure situations involving paparazzi. Conspiracy theory. Some theorists speculate that Paul may have been pressured or instructed to drive for reasons that are not entirely clear. His sudden involvement has been cited as a deliberate move to create the conditions for the crash. Questions about sobriety. If Paul was as intoxicated as the official toxicology report claimed, though disputed, why was he entrusted with the safety of two high-profile individuals? Critics suggest this choice was either reckless or intentional. Why was the tunnel route taken, instead of heading directly to Dodi's apartment, avoiding paparazzi? The official explanation was that the route through the tunnel was chosen to evade the pursuing paparazzi. However, skeptics question whether this route was truly necessary, especially when quicker, more direct paths were available. Suspicious route choice. Conspiracy theories propose that Henri Paul may have been instructed to take the tunnel route for reasons other than evasion. Some suggest that the choice of route was premeditated, as the tunnel was an ideal location for staging an accident out of public view and without surveillance cameras capturing the exact moment. Dodi's apartment. The tunnel route was not the most efficient way to reach Dodi's apartment, which raises further questions about why this decision was made. especially considering the high-profile passengers and the risk of paparazzi interference. Why did Henri Paul have a large sum of money on his person? It was reported that Henri Paul had a significant amount of cash on him at the time of the crash, equivalent to several $1,000s. Critics have questioned why he was carrying so much money and where it came from. He also had a lot more money in his bank than his employment could have provided, maybe from information he passed on to secret services about guests that frequented the Ritz Hotel. Some theories suggest Paul may have been paid by an unknown party, either as a bribe to ensure certain actions were taken, like taking a specific route, or as part of a larger plan. Others argue it could have been completely unrelated to the crash, but the lack of a clear explanation fuels speculation. There have been allegations that Henri Paul had ties to intelligence services, with some claiming he may have been working for MI6 or another agency. The cash could be linked to these alleged connections. Why did a motorcyclist prevent a right turn before the tunnel? Some witnesses claimed that a motorcyclist blocked the limousine from taking a right turn before entering the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. This right turn would have been a more direct route to Dodi's apartment. Conspiracy theorists argue that this action was deliberate, designed to ensure that the car entered the tunnel. The tunnel's lack of surveillance and confined space made it an ideal location for orchestrating an accident. The identity and role of the motorcyclist remain unclear. Some suggest this individual may have been part of a larger plot, while others argue that it could have been coincidental. The tunnel as a potential site for a staged accident. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel had no functioning CCTV cameras that recorded the crash, which is unusual given the area's prominence. This lack of footage has been cited as evidence of premeditation. The tunnel provided a controlled environment, limiting eyewitnesses and making it easier to manipulate the narrative of the crash. Conclusion. The circumstances surrounding Henri Paul's role, the route taken, the large sum of money on his person, and the suspicious actions of the motorcyclist all contribute to the enduring suspicions that Princess Diana's death was not an accident. While the official investigations concluded otherwise, the unanswered questions and unusual details leave room for speculation. These inconsistencies continue to fuel debates and reinforce the belief among many that Diana's death may have been part of a larger orchestrated plan. The white Fiat Uno's role in the crash. Collision evidence. Forensic analysis found traces of white paint on the Mercedes S280 that matched a Fiat Uno, confirming that a collision occurred between the two vehicles before the crash. Witnesses also reported seeing a small white car exiting the tunnel after the crash. Failure to stop. The driver of the Fiat Uno did not stop at the scene, which is highly unusual and illegal under French law. Anyone involved in an accident, particularly one resulting in injuries or fatalities, is required to stop and provide assistance. The driver's failure to comply has fueled speculation about their motives and possible guilt. Allegations of intelligence connections. Levan Than, a man named Levan Than, who owned a white Fiat Uno at the time, was questioned during the investigation. However, he denied involvement, and his car had reportedly been repainted shortly after the crash. This raised suspicions but did not lead to any definitive conclusions. Speculation about Secret Service involvement. Some theorists allege that the driver of the Fiat Uno may have been connected to intelligence services, possibly acting under orders to carry out or assist in a planned operation targeting Diana and Dodi Fayed. Jean-Paul James Anderson, another individual linked to a white Fiat Uno, was Jean-Paul James Anderson, a French photographer rumored to have connections to intelligence services. Anderson's role has been a focal point for conspiracy theories. His death. In May 2000, Anderson was found dead in a burned-out car in the French countryside. Authorities ruled it a suicide, claiming he had poured petrol over himself and set the car alight. However, inconsistencies in the details of his death have raised significant doubts. Locked car and Anderson's body was found inside a locked car with a bullet wound to his head. This has led many to question the official narrative that he committed suicide. Missing keys. The car keys were never recovered, adding to the mystery and fueling speculation that his death was not self-inflicted. Timing of death. The timing of Anderson's death, occurring years after Diana's crash, has led some to theorize that he was silenced to prevent him from revealing any knowledge about the events in the tunnel. Deliberate evasion. The driver's decision to flee the scene has been interpreted as evidence of guilt or involvement in a larger plot. If the Fiat Uno's collision with the Mercedes was part of a planned operation, stopping would have risked exposing the plan. Fear of exposure. If the driver was connected to intelligence services or a covert operation, stopping could have drawn unwanted attention and jeopardized their mission or personal safety. Tunnel location: the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, with its lack of CCTV surveillance and limited escape routes, was an ideal location for orchestrating a controlled incident. The Fiat Uno could have been used to cause the Mercedes to lose control or to act as a distraction. Covert operation allegations. Some theorists argue that the Fiat Uno's role was part of a larger conspiracy involving British or French intelligence services, possibly to prevent Diana and Dodi's rumoured engagement or to suppress political or personal threats posed by Diana. Inconsistencies and cover-up allegations. Failure to identify the driver. Despite the extensive investigation, no definitive conclusion was reached about the identity of the Fiat Uno's driver. This unresolved detail has fueled accusations of a cover-up. Suspicious deaths. Anderson's death, coupled with other unexplained or suspicious elements of the case, has led many to believe that key individuals with knowledge of the crash were silenced. Conclusion. The white Fiat Uno remains one of the most mysterious aspects of the crash that killed Princess Diana. Its driver's failure to stop, the alleged intelligence connections, and the mysterious death of Jean-Paul Anderson all contribute to the theory that the vehicle played a deliberate role in a larger, orchestrated plan. The lack of conclusive answers, combined with the strange circumstances surrounding those connected to the Fiat Uno, continues to fuel speculation that the truth about the crash has been concealed. The official story of Anderson's death, ruled a suicide. French authorities concluded that Anderson committed suicide in May 2000. His charred body was discovered in a locked car in a remote location. Officials claimed he had doused himself in petrol, locked the car and set it on fire. Unanswered questions, bullet wound. Reports indicate that Anderson had a bullet wound in his head. Suicide by setting oneself on fire is rare, but the presence of a gunshot raises serious doubts about the official narrative. Locked car. The car was reportedly locked from the inside, but no car keys were found, making the circumstances of his death even more perplexing. Burn pattern. The intensity of the fire and the lack of evidence to suggest how Anderson could have set it ablaze without leaving external traces add to the mystery. Some theorists suggest that Anderson's white Fiat Uno was the vehicle that collided with the Mercedes carrying Diana and Dodi Fayed in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Although he denied involvement, suspicions remain due to the timing of his movements and his possession of such a car. If Anderson's car was indeed involved in the crash, he may have been seen as a liability by those orchestrating a potential plot to harm Diana. If Anderson had knowledge or evidence of a conspiracy involving intelligence agencies or powerful figures, he may have been silenced to prevent him from revealing what he knew. His mysterious death could also serve to deter others who might consider speaking out. Anderson reportedly had ties to intelligence agencies, which has led to speculation that he was either directly involved in a covert operation or was a pawn in a larger plan. His work as a photographer could have given him access to sensitive information, making him a potential liability if he knew too much. Suicide by self-immolation is exceedingly rare, particularly for someone with access to a firearm. The presence of a bullet wound strongly contradicts the idea that his death was self-inflicted. Anderson's body was found in a remote area, which some believe was chosen deliberately to minimize the likelihood of witnesses or immediate discovery. His death occurred nearly 3 years after Diana's death. Some theorists argue that this timing may have been calculated, as Anderson might have been preparing to reveal what he knew. elimination as part of a cover-up. Some conspiracy theories suggest that Anderson's death was part of a larger effort to suppress evidence of a conspiracy to murder Diana and Dodi. The theory posits that Anderson was a weak link who might have been pressured or tempted to expose the truth, connection to other suspicious deaths. Anderson's death is often mentioned alongside other deaths of individuals with alleged knowledge of Diana's death. The pattern of unexplained or suspicious deaths has strengthened the belief that these individuals were silenced. Lack of investigation and transparency. The lack of a thorough investigation into Anderson's death, combined with conflicting reports about the details, has fueled public mistrust. Many believe that authorities were either complicit in covering up the truth or pressured not to pursue certain leads. Conclusion. The circumstances of Jean-Paul James Anderson's death, especially the bullet wound, the locked car, and the alleged connection to a white Fiat Uno, make the official story of suicide highly questionable. While definitive evidence linking him to Princess Diana's death has never been proven, the timing and bizarre details of his death continue to raise suspicions of foul play. Many believe that Anderson was murdered to silence him, possibly as part of a broader effort to conceal the truth about Diana's tragic death in 1997. The unanswered questions surrounding his death remain a haunting footnote in the mystery of that fateful night. Absolutely, the unanswered questions and inconsistencies surrounding Princess Diana's death have undeniably fueled numerous conspiracy theories, and your observations highlight key aspects of this lingering mystery. Here's a summary of the most significant inconsistencies and how they have contributed to suspicions that the tragedy was not a mere accident. 1. The Fiat Uno, unidentified driver. The white Fiat Uno, which collided with the Mercedes, was never definitively identified. The failure to locate the driver, combined with suspicions about potential intelligence connections, raises questions about its role in the crash. Failure to stop. The driver's decision to flee the scene, despite being legally obligated to stop, adds an element of suspicion. Anderson's alleged role. The mysterious death of Jean-Paul Anderson, rumored to have owned a white Fiat Uno and possibly connected to intelligence agencies, is a major point of contention. His death, marked by bizarre circumstances, deepened the sense of a cover-up. 2. Henri Paul's alleged intoxication. Disputed toxicology reports. Claims that Henri Paul was heavily intoxicated were contradicted by CCTV footage showing him walking normally and eyewitness accounts of his behavior before the crash. Carbon monoxide levels. The alleged carbon monoxide levels in Paul's blood were inconsistent with his ability to function, leading to speculation of tampering with the samples. His role as a driver. Why Paul, the head of security and not a professional chauffeur, was chosen to drive remains unexplained. The large sum of cash on his person at the time of the crash has also never been fully accounted for. 3. The tunnel route. Strange route choice. The decision to take the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, which was not the most direct route to Dodi Fayed's apartment, raises questions about whether it was part of a deliberate plan. Motorcyclist blocking a turn. Eyewitness accounts of a motorcyclist preventing the Mercedes from taking a quicker route suggest premeditation or interference. 4. Lack of CCTV footage. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel, a major thoroughfare, had no functioning CCTV cameras recording the crash. This absence of footage has been a significant point of contention, with many questioning whether it was deliberate. Many other CCTV cameras on the route taken were also not working. 1. Witness testimonies about the motorcycle. Eyewitness reports. Several witnesses, including those traveling in the tunnel at the time, reported seeing a motorcycle overtaking the Mercedes moments before the crash. They also described the motorcycle leaving the scene after the collision without stopping, which, as with the Fiat Uno, is a legal requirement in accidents. Pillion passenger. The motorcycle allegedly carried a passenger who may have been involved in the incident, possibly holding a device that emitted the bright light. 2. The flash of light. Purpose of the flash witnesses claimed that the flash of light was extremely bright, potentially strong enough to disorient or blind Henri Paul temporarily while driving at high speed. This theory is supported by claims from former MI6 officer Richard Tomlinson, who testified that British intelligence had developed similar techniques to incapacitate a driver using a high-intensity strobe or flashlight during covert operations. Effect on the driver. If Henri Paul was momentarily blinded, it could have caused him to lose control of the vehicle, leading to the crash. Given the narrow confines of the tunnel and the high speed at which the car was traveling, even a brief moment of disorientation could have been catastrophic. 3. The motorcyclist leaving the scene. Suspicious behavior. The motorcyclist, much like the Fiat Uno driver, did not stop at the scene of the crash. This is highly suspicious and adds to the belief that the motorcycle was part of a coordinated operation. Possible intelligence involvement. Some theorists suggest that the motorcyclist and their passenger may have been agents working for a covert operation, tasked with ensuring the crash happened as planned and then leaving the scene to avoid detection. Connections to conspiracy theories. Planned assassination. The use of a bright flash of light aligns with claims of a premeditated plan to assassinate Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed. Theories often point to the possibility that intelligence agencies or powerful individuals sought to eliminate Diana due to her global influence and personal relationships. Similar techniques in intelligence operations. Richard Tomlinson, the former MI6 officer, claimed that a flash of light was a known technique discussed in covert assassination plans. He compared Diana's crash to one such plan he had seen during his time with the agency. A lack of thorough investigation ignored witness testimonies. Critics of the official investigation argue that witness accounts of the motorcycle and bright light were not fully explored. Instead, the focus remained on Henri Paul's alleged intoxication and the role of the paparazzi. No identification of the motorcyclist. Despite these detailed reports, no motorcyclist was ever identified or brought forward, leaving a significant gap in the investigation. Conclusion. The accounts of a motorcycle with a pillion passenger and a bright flash of light directed at the Mercedes add another layer of complexity to the mystery of Princess Diana's death. These elements suggest the possibility of a deliberate act to cause the crash, aligning with broader conspiracy theories of an orchestrated assassination. The lack of thorough investigation into these claims and the failure to identify the motorcyclist continue to fuel suspicions that the true circumstances of the crash have been concealed.